Hello. Do you believe in spirits? Ever seen a ghost? Me neither. But today we're travelling to Malaysia. And well, we're talking about a woman who went from being a pop singer in the 1980s to attaining an almost mythical notoriety after an abrupt career change and the black magic murder of a politician. During her trial, she was the centre of a media frenzy, with her surgically enhanced, creepy smile, glamorous clothes and cheery demeanour, all whilst being tried for one of the most gruesome murders ever committed on Malaysian soil. Mona Fandey was born Mazlan Ismail in 1956 in Kangar, a town in the northern province of Perlis, Malaysia. As a child, she was outgoing and creative, heavily interested in singing and dancing. I read one account that said she'd trained as a water ballerina. I imagine that's the same as synchronized swimming, but I've no idea. But her passion really lay in music, and in particular singing. She wanted the whole shebang: fame, fortune, her name in lights. But most of all, she wanted to be famous. Remember that. She was married and divorced twice. In her late 20s, she started concentrating on her singing again and quickly met a man claiming to be her number one fan, Muhammad Afandi Abdul Rahman. He fell for her and asked her to marry him, sweetening the deal by telling her he'd make her a star and finance the production of her first record. She jumped at the chance, changed her professional name, and Mona Fandey was unleashed. Here's her first and only record, titled Diana 1. I'm assuming there were other Dianas, which never emerged from the pipeline. She even made a couple of television appearances. Okay, so she wasn't that bad. But, she wasn't anything special either. People just didn't seem interested in her, and so her musical endeavours fell by the wayside pretty quickly. Fortunately, she found something else, which seemed to be an almost natural progression. Witchcraft. I know, but hear me out. There's definitely something to be said about the art of performance when you're setting up shop as a professional shaman. A practitioner would need to be seen as charismatic, powerful, and mysterious. Mona would certainly be able to play the part. And the best thing? She'd be respected and revered without having to open her mouth and sing. A win all round. A little note on the fascinating world of Malay and Indonesian mythology and folklore. The Oxford English Dictionary defines the word shaman, or shaman as some people pronounce it, as, quote, a person in some religions and societies who is believed to be able to contact good and evil spirits and cure people of illnesses. But if you remove the last two letters, coincidence? The Malaysian version of a shaman is called a boma, and is traditionally considered a healer, geomancer, or sorcerer. Geomancer, I must look that up. Of course, geomancy, the method of divination that interprets markings on the ground or patterns formed by tossing handfuls of soil, rocks, or sand. Although the boma's traditional role was that of a healer, modern practitioners set up lucrative businesses purporting to be able to control spirits and demons for either good or nefarious purposes, and for a price, of course they'll use their influence to get you whatever your heart desires. Soon after making the career change, the couple realised that they were sitting on a potential gold mine. Incidentally, Mona's husband, Fandey, decided to become a boma too. Now, I had always imagined that she became a shaman by way of some mystical calling, years of training, or an arduous apprenticeship. But no, I think they really just woke up one Monday morning and decided, right, today's the day. Let's get rich. And boy, did they. The couple targeted elite, high-profile clients and offered their services. Mona's customers, which were rumoured to include several senior politicians at the time, were willing to pay top dollar based on her burgeoning reputation, and before long, the couple had accumulated enough money to buy several mansions and a fleet of luxury cars. One of these clients was a man named Datuk Mazlan Idris. Idris was a state assemblyman who in the early 1990s was hoping to boost his political career. In the spring of 1993, he met Mona Fandey and her husband. And by that time, the couple had become so inundated with inquiries, they'd taken on an assistant as well, one Juremi Hassan, who presumably acted as a go-between for the couple and their clients, and made sure they had all the specialist accoutrements for their appointments. Idris offered them a large sum of money to perform a shamanistic ritual on him, which would elevate him to the upper echelons of the Malaysian political scene, giving him greater influence and success. Claiming that she'd already assisted several other UMNO party members, Mona told him that he would receive several magical items, which had formerly belonged to the first president of Malaysia, Sukarno. These mystical talismans would be his for the bargain price of 2.5 million ringgit, which is about $600,000 in today's money. Back in 1993, it would have been closer to $1 million. Idris wasn't poor by any stretch of the imagination, but he couldn't produce that sort of dough on demand. He made a deposit of about a fifth, so 500,000 ringgit, and reportedly signed over the deeds of 10 land titles as a guarantee for the remaining money owed. And with everything in place, I guess Idris just sort of sat back, relaxed, and waited for success to come to him. Kind of like a precursor to The Secret. Like when you ask, believe, receive, and the universe delivers. After a time, nothing much had happened. Shocker. So he was pleased to receive an invitation from Mona and Fandey to visit them at their forest home in Raub. They wanted to perform a Mandi Bunga ceremony with him, which translates as flower water bath. It's supposed to dispel any lingering bad energy and allow the recipient to attract good fortune instantly. I think that sounds very relaxing, and I'm imagining the sort of treatment you get at a high-class spa. All petals, fluffy white towels, and cotton slippers. Unfortunately, the reality couldn't have been further from that. Idris made the 60-kilometre drive from Kuala Lumpur alone and critically told no one where he was going. I get the impression from the events that followed that wasn't particularly out of character. He was a family man, but would often be away from home for business. Somewhat eerily, in my opinion, the final stretch of journey was on unmade roads and through fairly dense forest, and he had to park a way off and approach the house on foot. Oh, and it was night. Now, whether you believe in spirits and ghosts, demons and witchcraft or not, and Mazlan Idris obviously did, this trek through the deep, dark forest, miles from anywhere, would be enough to give anyone the willies.
I believe there's spooks around here.
That's ridiculous. Spooks. That's silly.
Don't you believe in spooks?
No.
The house was what you might call a work in progress, made of stone walls and with only basic amenities. The assistant's couple, remember him, Juremi Hassan? Well, he was preparing the items needed to perform the cleansing ritual for Idris. Mona explained what would happen. Idris was to lie facing upward on a raised stone platform while she placed flowers on him and drew out the bad energy. When she gave the signal, he should open his eyes and behold the money that would come raining down from the heavens. We'll never know if Idris really believed this, or any part of it, because he never made it out alive. As Mona spoke the final incantation, Jeremy stepped out of the shadows wielding an axe and proceeded to bring it down hard on Idris's neck. He struck a total of 3 times before the man lay motionless in front of them. From everything I've read, it appears the reason they decided to kill Idris was purely financial. There were claims after the fact that the land titles, promised to Mona and Fandey as guarantee for the outstanding payment, were discovered to have been worthless. And by that logic, many have assumed the pair were furious they'd been cheated and set out to collect as much as possible from what they were owed. Indeed, in the days following the murder, several substantial sums of money were withdrawn from Mazlan Idris's bank account. Mona bought a new Mercedes, jewellery, furniture, and even got a facelift. Money well spent? Well, you be the judge. Idris was reported missing a few days later, after his family grew concerned and he failed to attend several party meetings. The disappearance was reported in the press, but as there were no leads, after several weeks it seemed as though the case was going cold, until what can only be described as a rather strange turn of events. In a twist of fate, local police happened to pick up the couple's assistant, Jeremy, on an unrelated drug charge. And as they booked him and escorted him to the holding cell, he began mumbling incoherently about Mazlan Idris. At first they ignored him, assuming in his drug-induced stupor that he was regurgitating stories he'd read in the papers. But he insisted. He knew what had happened to the missing politician, and he knew where he was. Eventually, they began to take him seriously. The following day, presumably having sobered up, Jeremy Hassan led them to Mona's forest compound and pointed at the unfinished storeroom towards the rear of the house. He's in there. Investigators had to break a concrete layer and then excavate a hole nearly 2 meters beneath the storeroom floor before making a grisly discovery. They found Mazlan Idris's remains, which had been cut into 18 pieces, along with the murder weapon, an axe, and several other knives. Mona and Fandey were picked up the same day and detained at the police station in Raub. Detectives combed the house and the couple's other residences for evidence and found amongst the papers the deeds to the land titles. They were soon able to piece together the likely timeline and motive for the killing. The Mona Fandey case was actually the last jury trial in Malaysia, for reasons that will become apparent. After this, cases were heard by a single judge in the High Court. The 3 defendants, Mona, Fandey and Jeremy, were tried in 1995 in the Temelo High Court by a 7-person jury. They were charged with murder under Section 302 of the Malaysian Penal Code, a crime which carries a mandatory death sentence if the accused are found guilty. The public were drawn to Mona in particular, and the fact that, revelling in the attention, she seemed to treat every court appearance as if it were a photo opportunity, once heard to remark, "It looks like I have many fans." She dressed in brightly coloured outfits, wore full makeup, and this almost maniacal perma-grin, leading many to speculate that it was all just a front, and that her magic was so powerful that she was sure to get off. Through one of Malaysia's most gruesome murders, Mona had finally achieved what she'd been chasing all along: fame and adulation. The trial lasted 65 days and heard evidence from a staggering 76 witnesses. The prosecution told the court that money was the motive for the killing and pointed to the shopping spree, the jewellery, the Mercedes and the facelift. Jeremy testified against Mona and Fandey, and revealed the gruesome details of the murder. It took the 7-member jury just 70 minutes to reach a unanimous verdict of guilty against all 3 defendants. Fandey and Mona smiled when the foreman of the jury delivered the verdict on the 9th of February 1995. Mr. Nadar Ali Khan, who represented Mona and Fandey, said they would be lodging an appeal. Jeremy's counsel, Karpal Singh, told the court that his client was only 24, unemployed and of low intelligence. I mean, he was employed, unless Mona wasn't even paying him. Ugh, the cheap bastard. Well, the judge then asked them if they had anything to say before he passed sentence, and Fandey and Mona both replied that they would leave the decision to the discretion of the court. He then passed the death sentence on each of them, that they be taken from the court to a recognised prison and later be hanged until they were dead. After hearing her sentence, Mona said, quote, "I am happy, and I thank you to all Malaysians." She was led from court, smiling as usual, as though she was in on this big secret that no one else knew about. Was Mona about to pull something out of the proverbial top hat? Well, no. In 1999, the trio filed appeals to the federal court, but they were rejected. As a last-ditch attempt to overturn the death sentence, they sought to obtain a pardon from the Pardons Board of Pahang, but the board refused, and the date of the executions was set for Friday the 2nd of November 2001 at the Kayang prison. The 3 were given a last meal of Kentucky Fried Chicken at the prison on the night before their execution. I mean, talk about a letdown. A KFC bucket. Probably not the final item on their bucket list, hey? Before they kicked the bucket the following morning. Stop saying bucket. It's beyond the pale. Then at 5:59 a.m. on Friday morning, Mona, Fandey and Jeremy were hanged in the gallows at Pahang prison, officially putting an end to the most gripping murder trial in the country's history. They were said to have been calm and relaxed, having accepted their fate. But Mona, characteristically upbeat till the last, couldn't resist upsetting the old apple cart one last time. When asked whether she had any final words before they slipped the hood over her head, she said calmly, "Aku takkan mati," which translates as, "I will never die." And then she died. What she meant by that is obviously open to interpretation. If it was notoriety she was after, then clearly she got what she wanted. A great many people have speculated on the case in the following years. There have been books, articles, even a couple of films made about it. The most well-known, Dukun, which is the Indonesian word for shaman, was released in 2018 and is said to be based loosely on Mona Fandey. There are many immediately recognizable elements, but I think even the producers would agree that they've concentrated on the highly sensationalized but unconfirmed accounts of Mona's story in favour of a more realistic but inevitably less exciting version. The titular character is even called Diana. 80s flashbacks, anyone? To this day, 2 of Mona's abandoned mansions, one in Shah Alam, the other in Raub, Pahang, still stand, although they are looking a little worse for wear. They're considered hotspots for adventure seekers and ghost hunters, as there have been multiple creepy sightings reported by those who dare to enter. And, as mentioned, the Mona Fandey affair was one of the very last jury trials to be conducted in Malaysia. The sensationalist nature of the case contributed towards the government's decision to discontinue the jury system altogether. All trials by jury were abolished on the 1st of January 1995. What with the articles, ghost tours, books and films, it's safe to say that Mona Fandey's legacy, however horrifying it was, will probably never die anytime soon. So it seems, in a way, she was right about that, after all. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. If you'd like to support me and help this channel grow, please take a second to like and leave a comment. And do subscribe if you'd like to see similar videos in the future. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.